by subscribing and leaving comments.
Speaking, it's a very small town, but every month since 1985, these folks have had a meeting. I've been to one of them, and I was quite impressed. Their crowd is by far the most knowledgeable crowd I've ever seen, Bigfoot-wise. They put out a monthly newsletter, and what is it called now, Don?
It's called the Monthly Bigfoot Report.
The Monthly Bigfoot Report. They're operating off quite modest funds, but they managed to get in the field, his group. They managed to put out a timely newsletter. You're on schedule with your publishing there? Yeah. And you meet every month on a timely basis. And see, this is one individual who's he's making it happen. And another individual who has another, what's the name of your outfit?
Eastern Ohio Bigfoot Investigation Center.
Okay, and it's been intact since 1985. And I'm not, I don't know if it's my place to criticize, but in 1982 another organization was founded called the ISC. Unfortunately, they have more manpower there. Apparently they have more money, but for some reason they've been consistently late in putting out publications, and they've been consistently having a problem with money. So a point of advice is perhaps the people at the ISC should talk to Don Keating as to how to put out a newsletter on a monthly basis, and how to get in the field, and take it from there. I think Don is almost ready to go. One moment. But the fellow is always investigating reports year-round, and it gets quite cold in the December, November, well, all through the winter time there in Newcomerstown. I was told that the state of Ohio has a population of about 1 million deer. I was in Ohio for a couple of months, October, November, and I never saw one deer. And but apparently they're there. You don't have a lot of big mountains, but you have quite a bit of rolling hills and quite a bit of forest. But the forests are scattered. But anyway, I'll shut up. Don Keating, why don't you come over here and take over? Don Keating from Newcomerstown, Ohio. Is Bigfoot a Buckeye is the topic of his presentation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Perez. And I would like to thank Mr. DeHinden back there to begin with for telling me to get my butt out here. I've been out here for a good while now, since Wednesday, and I have thoroughly and completely enjoyed the trip thus far. It's much more beautiful and scenic than I thought it would be, and we're just having a good time meeting everyone and enjoying the scenery. I didn't accept the invitation from Danny to come here this evening to convince you that Bigfoot exists in Ohio. There's no way anyone can do that, no matter how much evidence they put forth on the table. What I did do was something a little different, and I'm going to be talking about Bigfoot, obviously. A lot of people that come to Ohio from outside of the eastern U.S., such as Ray Crow, Danny Perez, Scott Harriet, and others, they're not familiar with what the territory and the terrain is like back there. A lot of people say, gee, I didn't know Ohio was this wooded. When I thought of Ohio, I thought of farmlands and cities. Well, it's true, you've got 10.8 million people in the state of Ohio. 3 million of them are in the northeast part of the state in the Cleveland metro area. But if you go along a line from Cleveland to Columbus to Portsmouth, Ohio, and eastward, the further east you go, the more rugged it gets. Now, obviously, it's not nearly as rugged as you have out here, but the rolling hills become more and more rolling as you go. And during the summer, it becomes very dense with lush vegetation, foliage, and as you saw in Mark's video, plenty of briars to wrap yourself up on. In 1984, when I started doing investigations for the Eastern Ohio Bigfoot Investigation Center, if someone would have told me Bigfoot's in Ohio, I would have looked at them and said, "You're crazy. There's no way. It only exists in the Pacific Northwest." But now, after almost 13 years of investigations plus my own encounter, I can stand here and say, I'm 99% positive that something like that does exist in the state. What I've done is I've put together a slide presentation this evening. I hope like crazy I got them into the right way. And if we could drop the house slides, I'll run over these 22 slides real quick for you. Okay, what you're looking at here is a section of eastern Ohio on an Ohio road map. The counties that are outlined in yellow, if you can see those, are Tuscarawas, Coshocton, and Guernsey counties. Those are the three areas, the three counties that have the highest number of alleged, and remember that word, alleged. We're not saying that they did see a Bigfoot. We're saying that they said they saw a Bigfoot. But these are the three counties with the highest number of alleged sightings in the state of Ohio. And Newcomerstown's right in the middle of the picture. This is an aerial shot of Newcomerstown. This was taken in early April in preparation for this slide presentation, just to show you what a small town of 4,000 people looks like. Although those of you who live in the Harrison Hot Springs area, you know, a little over 1,000 or thereabouts, so it's even smaller than that. This also happens to be, if you didn't know, this is the home of two famous sports legends, Woody Hayes, the temperamental Ohio State University football coach, and Cy Young, whom the Cy Young baseball award is named after. That is it's not a friend of mine, and it's certainly not me because it's got too much hair, but a friend of mine by the name of Buddy Davis from Utica, Ohio, makes life-size models of dinosaurs and Bigfoot as a profession, and this is one of the 4 models that he has made. This is a male creature, and it's approximately 9 feet in height, and I'm about 5'9", so I just thought I'd throw that in there to show you, you know, when people say they saw a 9-foot creature, if it actually was 9 foot, according to their estimates, if it wasn't messed up, that's about what 9 foot looks like compared to me. And I wouldn't want to run into it in a dark alley at night. This drawing here, and a couple of the people in the audience tonight know the history about this, Warren Thompson, Doug McCoy in particular. This isn't an artist's rendition of a Sasquatch. This is an actual eyewitness watercolor painting. And what this is briefly is an encounter that took place on July 2nd of 1984. This was from Sharon, Ohio, which is in Noble County, 40 miles to the south of Newcomerstown. What happened on the evening of July 2, 1984 was this young lady and her 3 young kids, ranging in age from 5 to 11 years of age, decided that they wanted to go down to the Grange Hall and play on the merry-go-rounds, the slides, the swings, etc. Well, their mom said, okay, let's go. So it's about 150 yards down the hill. So they go down to the Grange Hall, they're having a good time, the mother is watching the kids, and she hears a noise inside the woodline that sounds like heavy braking. And she thought, okay, one of the cows from the neighbors got loose, you know, no big deal, he'll come after it and get it. A few minutes later, that noise was extremely close, another braking noise. She looked over to her left at the woodline, and she said that the expression on the face, the grin, with its hand on the branch, is exactly the way it looked. And when she spotted it right there at the woodline, she said it was looking down at her 3 young kids playing on the merry-go-round. The one youngster walked up to her and tugged her on the shirt as she was looking at this thing, and the youngster looked at her mom and she said, this is what she said. She said, "Mom, is that Bigfoot?" And the mother said, "Yes, I think it is. Let's walk away very slowly back to the house so it doesn't come after us." The entire time that they were walking away, while the mother had the creature in sight, it never quit watching the kids. That took place in July of 1984. I did measure the branch when I got down there in early '86 when I found out about the sighting. I measured the branch. The branch was 8 foot tall, or 8 foot high off the ground. Okay, this is one of the first aerial slides I want to talk to you about. This is an aerial slide of the Newcomerstown substation. That is the Tuscarawas River in the foreground. The Newcomerstown substation is the location where the first sightings that I learned about took place on April 28th of 1984. 3 young boys from Newcomerstown were walking around on that late spring day, and they were just goofing off, having a good time, getting away from town. When they rounded a turn, which is close to where the house is now. That house was not there when this incident took place. Remember that. But they rounded a turn where that house was, close to this dump truck. Right here. And they said before they rounded the turn, they smelled a smell like a dead animal. So they were curious. Now they were out of curiosity. They wanted to see what was laying there stinking to high heaven. They rounded the turn. When they did, they saw a creature standing there, 7 to 8 foot tall, dark brown to black in color, pulling leaves off of the tree and eating them. When they saw that, they looked at each other, they turned around, hightailed it out of there. Now the run that they did was about 1.5 miles back to the River Street Bridge. And they didn't quit running until they got to it. So one of the boys went to his mother, who worked at the Newcomerstown news office, and told her about what they had seen. There was an article written in August of '84 about strange animals being seen in the Newcomerstown area. That included cats, exotic type looking birds, and then the tall creature. There's a power plant. And I saw that article in the Newcomerstown News about 1.5 months after I had read John Green's big book. And with the seed in my mind of, hey, it looks like, maybe that's a Bigfoot they saw, who knows? I thought, hey, I'm the only one crazy enough in town to go talk to these guys. I'll do it. And as they say, one thing led to another. So this is the location of where the first sighting that I know of took place in the Newcomerstown area.
Too expensive.
This is a ground shot of that location. And close to where that gas storage tank is, in the middle of the picture, is close approximately where the boys had said they'd seen the creature standing there pulling the leaves off the tree. This shot here is an aerial photo of a location 1 mile south of Newcomerstown, Ohio, inside of the Guernsey County line. This is an area where on September 15th of 1985, I was with Tom Archer and 2 other individuals in that location. We had been receiving numerous reports of sightings, footprint discoveries, and sounds. Now, the original eyewitness called me up to begin with and told me about this, and I said, okay, tell me how you get there. He did. I couldn't find the place. I just couldn't find the house they described. So a month later, I see this guy walking down the street, and I said, hey, aren't you the guy that, called me up and told me about the sighting? Yeah, well, where'd you go? And I said, I couldn't find your place. So I followed him out there that day, and the reason I couldn't find it, he gave me the wrong directions. But in September of '85, I was out there on a stakeout. They had been hearing strange sounds, and I wanted to get these sounds on tape. As I was sitting there, actually at the front end of an old pickup truck, and understand that this area has changed drastically since this encounter took place. Where the mobile home is in the bottom of the picture, there used to be a 2-story white, old, beaten up house on the inside that was sitting there. But I walked up toward the front end of this pickup truck because we heard noises coming off of the hill. There is goldenrod weed that grows in Ohio, if you know what that is. That grows to an average height of 4 feet. I saw what I thought at the time to be a person walking kind of on a diagonal line towards me. And I thought, well, that's somebody wrapped up in a sleeping bag. And the closer it got, it was walking towards the chicken coop. And I realized that wasn't somebody wrapped up in a sleeping bag because it was twice as tall as what the goldenrod was. It stopped at the chicken pen for about a second and then turned away and walked directly away from me about twice as fast as it had come towards me. The typical question of a Sasquatch researcher, I was into it for a year. I had a camera hanging around my neck. The flash was on. Do you think I even thought about that camera? I had forgotten all about it. But I wish to God I would have, there you go, buddy. Come on after me now. I got you on film. I might have limped out of the area, but that's all right. So that is a sighting that I had of what appears to be a Sasquatch type creature. This is the area on the ground. As I said, the house trailer wasn't there then. The brown spot that's worn away behind that tree is where the front end of the pickup truck was. And on the back left center of the picture there, you can see where the old barn used to be located. That was September 15th of '85 at approximately 10:04 p.m. A lot of mining takes place in the state of Ohio, and that's one of the biggest problems or obstacles that we have as far as keeping good terrain to look for Sasquatch type creatures in. They're mining constantly. There's a place called the Conesville Power Plant located approximately 25 miles southwest of New Cumberstown. That power plant runs nonstop 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. That power plant supplies electricity for 2/3 the population of the city of Columbus, as well as many other smaller towns in central Ohio. And if you don't know, the city of Columbus is about 1 million people. So they strip Ohio, eastern and south central Ohio tremendously for the coal to continually run the power plant. But this is old mining, old reclaimed mining territory. You can see a bit of water there. You can also see how the topography on the upper left corner is. That used to be covered with trees. And I just wanted to show you this, to show you, one, what they're doing with the land in Ohio, and two, what it looks like from the air. You know, they say you need 3 things, at least, for Bigfoot to exist in an area: food, water, and shelter. So you get the water right there. There's plenty of food. There's all kinds of wildlife. And there is the shelter, even though it doesn't show up in this picture. This is another area of mining, old reclaimed mining territory. This is near Otsego, Ohio. Just wanted to throw that in there so you can see, again, part of the natural resources that are available, the topography in the area. Okay. This is an area called the Wills Creek vicinity. This is approximately 20 miles to the west of where I live. This is then along the Coshocton-Muskingum County line. As I said, Coshocton, Tuscarawas, and Guernsey have the 3 highest numbers of reported alleged sightings in the state of Ohio. And part of this, where you see the new pines growing in the top center in the upper left-hand corner, that's reclaimed mining territory. The rest of it, like the patch pine trees on the right-hand side, that's the way things used to be. So this is an area that has been known to have had sightings reported to have come out of it. This is an area that I just showed you in the slide, the aerial slide. This is what it looks like on the ground. Now there is water in the background there. You really can't see it. This area, Ray Crow was in Ohio in September of 1996. Time flies when you're having fun. When he was there, I showed him corn stalks that were wedged up in the trees and the forks of the trees where the branches grew out. Those corn stalks were 15 feet off the ground, and they were placed there by floodwaters from the Wills Creek Basin. So whenever we have a tremendous amount of moisture during the winter, or we get a very heavy freeze and then we get a heavy rainfall for the spring thaw, this area is very, very prone to flooding. When I was putting together this slide presentation, I received a phone call of an alleged sighting from a man who lived near Peoria, Ohio, which is a small burg of about 150 people. He told me that he had seen something cross the road in front of him that he thought was a bear. I said, okay, would you show me the area? And he said, yeah, sure. You know, I'm interested in where the bear are too. You know, I want to know where to go and where to look out to get chased by a bear. But when I went out there, he told me about this encounter, and the more he told me about it, the more I thought, that doesn't sound like a bear. What he told me was, he and his wife were riding down this road that he's standing on, heading towards his in-laws. As they got just beyond the crest at the top of the hill and started downhill, they saw this thing emerge from this crevice here. Right in this area. Now this drops off quite a bit. It probably drops off 50 to 75 feet, just like that. He said he saw it coming up the hill. It got to the top there. This road is 21 feet wide, and he said it crossed the road in 3 steps. He said it was a black in color. He said it appeared to be a 6.5, maybe 7 foot in height as it walked across the road. And he said what he thought, the reason that he thought it was a bear was because of the way it was hunched over. It didn't walk perfectly erect. It walked something on a manner like this. Okay, so it wasn't perfectly erect. It was walking with a bit of a hunch. And he and his wife, they saw it. It took 3 steps. It walked into the woods on the other side of the road and kept on going. And he never saw it again. But he called me to tell me he saw a bear, and he wanted to know if I could come out and look at the area, see if it was suitable for bear. And the more, I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot that he saw. I understand that. But what he is telling me is a lot of stuff that sounds like it could have been a bipedal individual that was 6.5 to 7 feet tall. I mean, these are his numbers, not mine. This sighting took place in late November of 1996, last year. This is another shot of it. Again, he's standing there where the creature, whatever it was, came up the side of the hill. And at the top of the road there in the background is where where they were at, strike that, where they were at when they were driving in the car coming down this hill, and that's when they saw it. Incidentally, it was he and his wife that did see it, and I talked to both of them, and they both correlated the sighting. And I talked to them individually. I didn't talk to them together. This is an area known as Salt Fork State Park Lodge. Now, I believe there are like 6 or 7 state parks in the state of Ohio. This is one of the highest visited state parks in the state of Ohio. Salt Fork Lake and the Lodge. This doesn't really give you a good idea of what the terrain is like in that area, but that drops off steeply on the right-hand side down toward the lake. This is another aerial shot of Salt Fork State Lodge. This is looking toward the east. You can see the large amount of water that is available for wildlife. You can also see the large amount of cover that is available. I only wish that when I went up and took these pictures that it had come out, that the foliage had come out the way it should be, the way it is now. But I wanted to get up and get them in the event that the weather would be terrible for a period of time and I couldn't get the slides done in time to come out here. But the reason I have these slides in here of Salt Fork is not to increase the Ohio tourism. I'm not a paid promoter for Ohio tourism. But the reason I have these in here is Salt Fork State Park has a large number of reported sightings from the time that it opened in 1972 until as recently as 1995. And one of the most interesting sightings that have taken place there by far, in my opinion, was reported to me by a park ranger. He had read an article in the Daily Jeffersonian, Cambridge, Ohio newspaper that appeared, and he told me, he said, I've told next to nobody about this other than the fellow park rangers that worked here when this happened. He, at this time, had a different occupation. He said, I've told very few people about this, but what happened was during a 1-week period in 1973, we had 4 reported sightings, and the 4th one was mine. But the 4th one, mine being the rangers. The 3rd one was by a girl who was driving down one of the roads, the park roads, and she saw this thing cross the road in front of her. So she reported it to the rangers. When the one ranger in the truck called up the ranger in the ranger building, he told him, he said, yeah, okay, she reported it that it's coming across the road, it's heading toward the woods, and oh, by the way, you might be interested to know that she said it's heading in the same direction you're at. Okay, so he says, all right, fine, whatever, He was pretty skeptical about it. He was doing something at the radio. A few moments later, he felt he felt as if he was being watched. And a lot of people report that. They felt like they were being watched. He looked toward the window, up like this. He saw this thing looking in the window at him. And the description that he gave of the face, if it is honestly accurate, is a very good description. He described the following to me of the face looking in the window at him. He could see the brow ridge. He could see the nose was pressed to the face. It didn't protrude like a human nose or like a bear nose, but it was pressed to the face, kind of like what you would see on a gorilla. He said he could see the lips on the mouth. They stuck out a little bit. The eyeballs in the face, the eyeballs were black in color. That's the only color he saw with the eyes. And he could see the ears were small and they were pressed up against the head. They weren't stuck out like human ears. They were up against the head. He said his immediate reaction was he swung at the window. He swung at it. And when he did, he swung so hard he broke the window. And he said, if you don't believe me, go to the Cambridge City Hospital in Guernsey County, Ohio. He said, talk to Dr. So-and-so, ask him to see the report that I filed in 1973, because I had to go there right after this happened and get 20 stitches in my hand. And they wanted him to fill out a report as to what happened, because they said, what'd you do, break a beer bottle on yourself? And then he told him. So if his encounter is true and accurate, it's a very interesting encounter with the facial description. This is, again, Saltport on the ground. This is looking toward the west, towards I-77. You can get a better idea of what the terrain looks like here, how the rolling hills are located. Funny thing about this shot, I saw all these cars, and this was in early April. I'm thinking, you know, tourism season hasn't started yet. What's everybody doing here? The way I understand it, the little side note to this goes like, oh, by the way, the police were notified you were coming, and they think they're crack spots, so they came to take you away. But sometimes I tell that joke and it works, and sometimes it doesn't. And obviously, I need Scott Harriet down here to bail me out, Scott. So anyway, someone knew I was going there. I didn't even know I was going there. I just driving around. Oh, here's a nice place. I'll stop. Went into the area because there had been activity in that area before. I'm taking footage of this lake. I didn't like the particular angle I was at, so I had the camcorder up on my shoulder. I turned to reposition myself. I still had the camera running. I stopped, turned back around, shot some more footage. And my habit is never, ever, ever throw any field footage away that you take in the woods. Even if there's nothing on it, don't throw it away. Don't re-record over it. Because it's important that you look in that area on that videotape. If something happens in the future, you'll be able to use that as a reference to what the area looked like when you were there on a previous occasion. 17 and a half months later, it was cooler than you know what outside. I stuck the tape in there. I wanted to look at a funny interview I did with a guy who is now deceased. He was deceased when I stuck the tape in the player because this is the kind of guy who, I guess the description, he could see Bigfoot on demand. Would fit him very well. And well, I'm not going to mention any names, but he could see it on demand. And I thought, yeah, go ahead and hit the power for that. Scott is a professional. He hides that very well. There we go. Yeah, drop the lights if you can. And this is close-up work I did off of the screen. If you watch the middle of the picture, you'll easily see what I'm talking about on the screen. Can you kill that sound up there?
Let's try.
Oh, sorry.
It's on the right-hand side there on the panel. It has decibels. If you can't, don't worry about it. No, you hit the wrong button there, buddy.
Thanks, drive carefully.
Yes, drive carefully. The movie's over. Incidentally, if you heard the joke about the jump rope, skip it.
Hold on. Sorry.
That's okay.
There we go.
There you go. Danny's up here prancing behind me. I know time is running.
Let's try.
Okay. Just watch the middle of the picture.
Can you do any sharper?
That looks pretty interesting.
Yeah, we can do sharper. Let's hit the stop button, rewind, and then let's hit the play button. What I got on here at the beginning is it's actually a first generation copy of the original tape. I'll run that a couple of times. You can look at it. You can see what it actually looks like on the videotape itself. I'll take questions and or comments, then I'll shut up.
John, you want to rewind the whole way?
Yeah.
The whole way?
Yeah. That's only a few seconds worth that you have to rewind it, I believe.
It's going from, was that queued up though?
No.
Don,
Yes.
how many times have you seen quote-unquote Bigfoot?
I've seen a creature that fits the description of a Sasquatch on two occasions. The September 15th of 1985 and late November of 1987. The one in November of 87 was about 400 yards away. It was at dusk. It was very...
This videotape that Mark DeWorth showed,
Right.
you were witness to that too?
Is this where you want it to go back?
Yeah, that's fine.
Is that fine?
That's good. Keep it rolling. Watch the middle of the picture. You can just let it keep rolling, Scott.
Yeah.
You can see what I was doing here. You know, this is not repeated here. This is as I was filming. You know, I just wanted to use different angles of the lake. I didn't like the way it looked.
Hey Don, can you point it out as it goes?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I had no idea that I had captured something, who knows what, on videotape. And I'll be quite honest about it. I wish I had never knew it was there because it'd make my life a little easier. Because I cannot explain what's on there. We have done experiment after experiment after experiment trying to determine what is on this clip of videotape. Ray Crow has been out to the spot. Scott Harriet has been there. Daniel Perez has been there.
Obviously, I'm walking while I'm taking this footage.
Okay.
How do you know?
Yeah. Well, when you're by yourself, you know, you talk to yourself. So, anyway.
Down this road here.
I didn't play that at my meeting, so, you know, these things are crazy enough as it
Back
is.
out this way.
But,
And within the hill, we'll find some footprints. But hey, the way I was going around lately, I doubt it.
so, you know.
How about footprint evidence?
Go ahead and, yeah, this is just, you can read that for yourself for 15 seconds, but this, you know, I put this on here so I could show it at the conference in '95, and then I replayed it in '96, and that's when Mark DeWorth found out about me. I'm sure he regrets that. But, you know, it was after that yeah, I thought you did. So, I'll try to point this out to you. I'm not quite that close. I'm getting seasick watching it, so. That's just a little closer. What I did was I took my camcorder, stuck it on a tripod, zoomed in on the TV screen, and then I used the autofocus, excuse me, the manual focus, and knocked the focus out just a tad, so it would get rid of the pesky looking dot pattern on the, excuse me, on the screen.
Take it back.
Good and stop, Scott, and raise the lights.
Slow motion.
How you doing? Nice to see you. Yes.
How many times have you seen Bigfoot?
And I've seen, let me rephrase that because I don't know what a Bigfoot should look like. I mean, we don't have one lying.
Let me rephrase my question.
Okay.
How many times do you think you saw something that you thought might have been a Bigfoot?
That's more like I would phrase it, yes. Twice.
Okay, does that include this
No.
April '97?
No.
You were with Mark DeWorth?
Yes.
Did you actually witness that with your own eyes?
I did not see what he was filming because I didn't know where he was pointing.
The '97 episode, do you consider that a sighting for you? Yes or no?
April 20th?
Yes.
No.
Okay. The '92 situation with the white Bigfoot, do you consider that a sighting?
No. No.
So you have two sightings.
Yes.
What years?
September 15th of 1985, November 7th of 1987.
Just two.
Correct. And I'll tell you one thing now, and I'll tell you all this right now. I've got the equipment, I've got the know-how. You know, it took a good number of years and a whole lot of criticism from a lot of people, which was constructive criticism. If I see it for the third time, long enough to get it on tape or get some good pictures of it, you'll see evidence of it, knowingly evidence. Because I don't go in the field, I'm prepared.
So the April '97 videotape, which that was quote-unquote Bigfoot,
Right.
that you do not consider a personal sighting.
Correct. John?
Yeah, my name is John Horrigan. I'm from the Bay State Bigfoot Society, the BSBS, twice the BS of your normal Bigfoot organization. I'm not a researcher. I am not an investigator. And I thought that this Bigfoot stuff, I looked at the Patterson-Gimlin, and Don invited me to speak at this meeting December '96, and I said, oh, an albino Sasquatch. Oh, I'm gonna get this guy. And his credibility, and he's so down to earth. That's what struck me. And in talking with himself and Mark DeWorth, he said, oh, I think I might have had this thing on another tape. I had to coerce him for 10 minutes to show me additional videotape, accidental, that he had never looked at, except once, of the same, some people on the internet say it's a jogger in a jogging suit, a white jogger, and it has to be Michael Johnson in order to scale that fence and to bound over it up the hill, first of all. But he's got another piece of footage that reflects it on the side of a lake, and he refuses to release it. I'm just trying to coax Don as a friend, and for the sake of the research, he's got two other pieces that I consider to be evidence of whatever that thing is, or whatever that human is. And I just hope, Don, as a friend, that you would share that in the future with other people here as well.
Let me add some numbers for measurement before I get to Tom's question and I forget it. Those fence posts you saw in the background are 49 inches high. The distance between the camera and where the individual was walking is between 262 and 292 feet. The approximate distance that it covered in 1.55 seconds, according to my stopwatch on my clock, my watch, when I timed it out, was approximately 28 feet. They covered that 28 feet in the 4 steps that you saw it take. I don't know what it is. I wish that I would have known it was there, that it would have been in view a lot longer than what it was. I actually wish I would have never found it on tape to begin with, because now I have something that is an unsolved mystery, so to speak. I can't explain it away, and so whatever. Tom?
Yeah, 2 points, Don. The area where the thing was walking, where the fence posts are, is there a road there?
Yeah.
There is a road there?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when you and I were corresponding about this, do you remember I made the suggestion that there seemed to be too much light getting into the camera lens, and a lot of the foliage and stuff appears unusually white?
Yeah.
Is it possible that this thing was more of a gray color, actually, than a white color, and it's because of the high reflection of sunlight that it appears white?
Definitely possible, because I've realized over the years that a lighter colored individual with direct sunlight will look actually lighter in color than what it is. And if you look at something that's purely white in the sunlight, like the top of my head, you can go blind temporarily. I like what Renee said to me earlier, if he doesn't mind me quoting him.
If you're enjoying all this rare and unique content, please show your support by subscribing and leaving comments.